In this lesson we're going to look at 16 bars of a classic jazz solo over Take the A Train from one of the undisputed queens of jazz, Ella Fitzgerald. This is one of Ella's scat solos. We're just looking at the first half of it for now over the tune. If you listen to the full recording in typical Ella style, she does go back and just does improv throughout the song as well as she normally does. But I just wanted to kind of share these 16 bars with you because I think that they're well worth studying for some lessons on how you can improvise on a tune like this. So let's get into it. The solo begins with a long, beautiful linear phrase which sounds like this, played a little bit slower. So we're starting on the end of 4 and then we're playing basically through the C major scale down to this E note, and it's almost like you're kind of hovering around a couple of notes. D7, and then she finds this note which is obviously the melody note. So it's almost like she's kind of just, singing around a couple of notes until she hears that note, and it's beautiful how it's kind of delayed slightly until the second bar of D7. And of course it's a cool little pattern as well. So through C major it's just this nice little melodic kind of pattern, and then D7. If you wanted to be very scalic with that, it sounds very much like a whole tone scale, and that's because all those notes do come from a whole tone scale as well. So it's a nice little pattern that you can use to kind of play over that. If you want to as well. I don't know if that's what I was thinking at all, but me with my kind of jazz analytical brain kind of hears that as kind of dancing around a little bit of a whole tone scale pattern, and it's very useful for us as guitar players to employ those kind of patterns, and especially if it's kind of a smaller cell of notes like that, then that works tremendously well over that D7 chord. Following this, we're looking at the 2-5-1, which is playing into, and the phrase over the 2-5-1 sounds like this. So much easier than the first 4 bars, but just a really great kind of lesson in how you can just think of swing phrases over a 2-5-1. You don't always have to think, 2-5-1 line. She's just thinking of phrases that really swing, And that's what's going on there. So it's C major pentatonic, this first phrase. And then we've got basically an enclosure into the third. Thinking rhythmic, thinking swing, that kind of, Miles Davis thing. You hear a lot of kind of horn players improvise like that, thinking very rhythmically. So that's kind of the first 8 bars of that solo, a beautiful kind of long linear phrase, and then just kind of, 2 swing phrases to conclude the first section. Now moving on to the kind of second section, it's a beautiful kind of repeated phrase as well. So picking up into that, the first 2 notes are on beat 4, and then we're playing into beat 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That kind of thing. This, when you play it on guitar, sounds very Charlie Christian-esque to me, and of course Charlie Christian and Ella were of the same time period, I think. Maybe Ella was a little bit younger. Anyway, but it's that kind of language that sounds very common between those two, I think. And this is a beautiful repeated phrase. Now, if you ask me, when you hear this played quick especially, you can kind of hear like a train chugging to that. It almost sounds like a kind of a chugging train sound. And of course, if you're more familiar with Ella's work, then you will hear that, she almost has an element of freeness in her scat solos. She's thinking more of sounds and that kind of thing. And I think this is a really great example of thinking about the song, not just always about chords and scales too. So that's what's going on in my opinion over the first 4 bars. And then you've got this beautiful kind of conclusion to this, and I'll play what she does slowly at the end of the second A section, and it sounds like this. So what's going on there? We've got this arpeggio, which is actually of a D minor 7 at this point, if you're thinking really kind of on the chords. Which doesn't really make much sense when you connect that arpeggio to D minor 7. The only thing I can think of as, you know, being a guitar player is that kind of melodic minor shape, which is good to play for that D7 usually, you know, when you've got like A, C, E, G sharp and B. It's that kind of sound, but applied here over the D minor 7 as well, it also works, especially at fast tempo. And then it goes into this beautiful kind of swing phrase. Very much a Charlie Christian phrase, I think, that one as well, or maybe just a general swing phrase. That kind of language. So yeah, it's a beautiful kind of conclusion to that, and it's a really good example, I think, of the 2-5-1 in both times. She's just thinking of swing phrases, she's thinking of the song. There's some beautiful ways to play over the D7 too, and there's ways that you can just use repetition. So there's lots of lessons in this that you could do to kind of build up your confidence on this. So yeah, I think it's good to try and practice this with Ella. You could slow it down if you really need to. If you go on YouTube, you can kind of change the playback speed and do that. And even if you don't get to 100% on this, even if you get to 80%, this is going to improve what you can do on this tune massively. So it would be certainly a recommended assignment for me to try and learn it and play along with it, and even then just try and use some of the ideas that you like from the solo over a backing track and try to integrate them with what you already do.